Hey guys, Chubbs here, back again with another Doom Builder tutorial. This is a request that I've gotten several times over the past year or so. I've had multiple people ask me how to go about creating Quake-style jump pads, and I've come up with a little technique that thankfully doesn't require any scripting, although I'm also going to show you near the end of this video that you can use scripting to enhance this feature if you'd like. Before we get into the jump pad functionality itself though, I just want to give you a real quick overview of the map that I've set up here. So I'll hop into visual mode. You can see that we have a player start. Ahead of the player we have the two jump pads, although we have not yet given them any functionality. They're just sort of decorations. I do have some items on top of the jump pads that you can see here, but all these are is just particle fountains. So it's just purely decorative at this point. The jump pads don't actually make the player jump. But you can see that this first jump pad is sort of sloped, and it's facing this platform where a red key exit door is. And then the second jump pad is just sort of raised up almost like a teleporter. And if we look up above it, there's this really tall platform where the red key is located. So obviously the goal here is going to be for the player to use this jump pad to just bounce up here and get the red key, and then drop back down and use this sloped one to launch himself over to the red key door where he can exit the map. So enough talking about the looks of the map. Let's get into the actual jump pad functionality. Thankfully this is really easy to do, so we're going to focus on this simple jump pad first, the one that's just going to bounce the player upwards. And to make this happen without any scripting, all we have to do is go into thing mode. We'll start to place a thing, and then you want to go to the list of things and find the sector actions category, expand that category, and then go to actor enters sector. And as the name implies, what this basically does is whichever sector you place this thing in, whenever the player or some other actor enters that sector, whatever special you give this thing is going to activate. Hey guys, just a quick little correction. Throughout this video I use the actor enter sector thing, and although that mostly works, it's actually better in this case to use the actor hits floor thing, and that way if you hit a jump pad and you come back down and hit it again, it will trigger again. So do keep that in mind. This tutorial will still work, but you probably want to use actor hits floor instead of actor enters sector. So we're not going to give it a special just yet, but I'm going to select this, make sure that we have this thing selected, click OK, and I want to move this thing into the jump pad. You can actually move it anywhere, but it needs to be inside that sector. So I'm just going to drag it, plop it down right there. There we go. And now we need to give it a special that will launch the player upwards. So I'm going to right click that thing to edit its properties. We're going to go to the action tab, go to the action list. So I'm going to go over here and just click this browse action button. And then in the list of actions you want to go down to the thing category and expand it. And the action that we want is this action right here, action 128 thing thrust Z. So when we're dealing with Z, that's basically referring to up and down. So that's going to be thrusting the player either upwards or downwards, and for us obviously we want that to be upwards. So we're going to click OK to select that action, and we need to fill in a few things. For thing tag, we're going to leave that blank because we don't want to specify any particular thing. We just want it to be whatever enters this sector, and in our case that's going to be the player. Now force, this is obviously important because this is how much force we want to apply. I've already sort of cheated and gone ahead of time and just tested out different numbers, and for this particular jump pad I found that a force of 80 launches the player upwards just enough for him to get on that platform. But in your own maps you're just going to have to sort of just play around with different values and see what kind of force you need to get the jump height that works for your situation. So for the next action or the next category here, you can see that it's asking for down or up. That's kind of obvious. Up is going to launch the player upwards. Down will launch him downwards. We want to keep that as up. And then set and add. This is a little more complicated. From what I understand, if you have it on set, that means that what's going to happen is when the player activates this, it's going to just immediately set his upwards force to the value that you've given. If you change this to add, from what I understand, it's basically just going to factor in whatever the player's vertical velocity already is. So it's possible that this force could not be as strong in certain situations. For me, I'm just going to leave this to set. That basically ensures that you're going to get the full force that you specified, but you can also play around with that if you want. But for us, we're just going to leave this to set. So to go over what we've just done real quick, we just placed the actor enters thing inside of our jump pad sector, and then we gave that actor enter sector thing a thing thrust Z action. So now whenever the player enters this sector, he's going to be thrusted, and we've specified that the force will be 80, and he's going to be thrusted upwards. So pretty simple. So let's go ahead and let's just play the map, test it, and just make sure that it actually does what we want. Alright, so you could see that that did pretty much what we wanted. As soon as we stepped on that platform, the action that we gave this actor intersector thing executed, and that was the thing thrust Z action. So we launched ourselves upwards. We were able to grab the red key and then come right back down. So next up is a situation that's a little trickier, and that's with this sloped platform. Now we could of course just do the same exact thing and leave it at that, but the problem is just using thing thrust Z is not going to work for us, because all that's going to do is just launch us straight upwards. What we want is to not only go upwards, but also to go forwards towards this door so that we can actually make it to this platform. So how would we launch ourselves upwards and forwards? How would we go about doing that? Well, the trick that I found is to basically use two different actor intersector things and just place them both inside this same sector. And I'll explain what I mean by that, and I'll break it down as we go. So first, let's do it the same way that we did with this one up here. Let's go ahead and place an actor intersector thing. I'm going to go ahead and just drag it into this jump pad. And because I'm going to be placing a second actor intersector thing in it, I'm just going to change my grid size a little bit and move this over. The placement of the thing doesn't matter, but I'm just going to move it over just a little bit to give myself a little room for another one here in a second. But I'm going to go to the one that I just placed. I'm going to pull up its action category. And remember, this is the action it's going to execute when the player enters this sector. So we're going to give it just the same action as before. We're going to go to the thing category, thing thrust Z, which is action 128. During my test for this particular pad, I found that a force of 75 worked a little bit better instead of 80, which is what we used for the last pad. So I'm going to do 75 for the force, and we can leave the other things just as they are. We want it to still be up, and we still want it to be setting the velocity directly instead of adding it to whatever the player's velocity or force might already be. So we'll go ahead and let's just test the map, just make sure that that works, but we've not yet fully got it done because all we have is just an upwards thrust. We don't have a forwards thrust yet, but let's go ahead and test it, just make sure that we at least have that upwards thrust. Okay, so just a nice little test there to make sure that we got that. So that's step one out of the way. Now let's do step two. So let's place another actor intersector thing. I'm going to place this one inside that sector. I'll just drag it right over next to the other one. And again, the placement doesn't matter, but I'll just stick it right next to the other one. I'm going to edit the one that I just placed. And here's where things are a little bit different. So we don't want to launch the player upwards this time. Instead, we want to launch the player forwards. So to do that, what we'll do is pull up the list of actions, go to the thing category again, and instead of thing thrust Z, we just want thrust thing. So basically, thrust thing is like a horizontal force. That's a way you can think about it. And thrust Z is going to be like an upwards or downwards force. So let's choose thrust thing. That's action number 72. And I find that this one's a little easier to understand as far as its arguments. So the first one that it's asking you for is the angle. You can either type in a number, or you can use this handy little button here. When you click it, it comes up with like a little picture, and this allows you to specifically choose the angle or sort of the direction that you want the player to be thrusted in. For us, if we zoom out, you can see that the red key door is over here to the left. So all we have to do, I'll pull up that same thing properties again. All we need to do is, I didn't save the changes I made, but we need to go to thrust thing again. All we need to do is pull up the angle and make it point left. So that way it'll thrust the player over to the left. Next is going to be the force, and this is just like with the Z version that's up and down. You'll have to play around with this and get your values just right. For me, what I found for this certain platform, or for this particular platform, I found that a value of 10 for the force worked best. No limit, what this means, from what I read on the wiki, is if you have a force of 30 or above, you have to set this to yes. Otherwise, you can just leave it at no. And then target thing tag, that's kind of self-explanatory. If you want to target a specific thing, you can set that tag to something. For us, though, we just want it to be the player or whoever enters this, so we're going to leave that at 0. So now what effectively should happen is when the player enters this sector, 2 actions are going to take place because we have 2 separate actor-intersector things. The 2 actions are going to be, first I'll start with this actor-intersector thing. Thing thrust Z, and that's going to thrust him upwards. And the second one, going to this one, will be thrust thing, which is going to be a horizontal thrust to the left, as you can see, based on the angle that we set up. So the player is going to be thrusted upwards and to the left, which, if we're looking at it here, is going to be forwards towards the red key door. So let's go ahead and test it, make sure that it works. And we'll just go ahead and do a complete test here, testing out both of our platforms at the same time. So here we go. Alright, so that was perfect. The first platform worked just as we wanted it to, and then the second platform that we just got through working on also did a great job. It launched us upwards, it also launched us forwards, and we landed pretty much perfectly right in front of the door. So that's how easy it is to set up these very basic jump pads without having to worry about doing any kind of scripting. It's not tough at all. You can sort of tweak your numbers to get the jump height and the jump range just right, and you can do that to sort of make your jump pads match any situation. What I'm also going to show you real quick, now that we're basically at the end of the tutorial, is how you can take this and enhance it by using scripting. So here we're, like for this slanted platform, since we needed the player to be launched upwards and horizontally, we needed to use 2 of these actors-intersector things. But when you're using scripting, since you can do multiple things in a single script, you really only need 1 of these actor-intersector things in each jump pad. So let me show you this little script setup that I've already done ahead of time. So I'm going to go ahead and on this second jump pad, I'm going to remove 1 of those actor-intersector things, and I'm just going to keep 1 in there. So now both of our jump pads only have 1 actor-intersector thing. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up the script editor real quick and show you the basic scripts that I've written. Now, I have an entire ACS scripting tutorial series. I might post a link to that in the video description, so I'm not going to spend a great deal going over the logic here in the scripts, but I did want to show these to you. So I've already written a pretty basic activate jump pad script that you can call by attaching it to any line action or anything. And this script takes in 3 values, so you can pass it these 3 values. The first one is going to be the angle. This is like the horizontal angle that the actor is going to be thrusted in. The second one is the horizontal force, so whatever force you want to apply in that given direction or that given angle. And then the vertical force, and this is going to be like the upwards force. So you can basically customize it whenever you call this script to have a different result each time. Now inside this script, all we're really doing is multiple simple things to achieve one larger effect than what you'd seen before. So these 2 lines of code do the same things that you'd already seen. This is going to thrust the player horizontally using the information that you've passed to the script. This line is going to thrust the player vertically using the vertical force that you passed to the script. And here, these next 3 lines are where it gets a little different. This is where you can do more advanced things through scripting. So here, we're not only thrusting the player upwards and horizontally, we're also playing a custom sound effect that I put in there. We are flashing the screen blue by using this simple little script that I wrote that does just that. And then we're using the radius quake function. This is a built-in function to sort of shake the screen a little bit. So not only is this script going to launch the player, it's also going to play a sound effect, flash the screen, and then do a little bit of a screen shake. So let me go ahead and attach this script to those actor intersector things to show you how it works and how it looks compared to the simpler version that I already demonstrated. So we'll go over here, we'll start with this one. This is that simple upwards jump pad. So I'm going to go to its actor intersector thing, and I'm going to get rid of its plain old thing thrust Z thing, or thing thrust Z action, I should say. And instead, we're going to change its action to be script execute. And we're going to check string because this is a named script that I'd written. And I'll choose activate jump pad because that's the script that we want to use. And this is not going to be a horizontal jump pad, it's just going to launch the player upwards. So we can leave horizontal angle at 0 and horizontal force at 0. But vertical force, if you remember earlier, we had used 80 for this jump pad when we had done the thing thrust Z action. So that's what I'm going to type here. Just type 80. And then let's go down to this more advanced or more complex jump pad that needs to launch the player over here horizontally and upwards. And I'm going to clear out its action, and we're basically going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to I'm going to switch its action over to, see, where's the script category? Oh, there it is. Script execute. We're going to choose the activate jump pad script, and here we need to type in the angle, and I had actually already forgotten what the angle number is, but if you do forget what the left angle number is, then what you can do is you can just place another one of these actor intersector things. You can go to the plain old thrust thing action, and then you can use this little helpful diagram here and see what number it gives you. So over to the left, you can see that the angle number is 128. So I'll just get rid of that thing that I just placed, go back to the one we were working on earlier, and for angle, we know to type 128 to thrust the player over to the left. For the horizontal force, if you remember, when we had done this using the simpler method, we gave it a horizontal force of 10. And then the vertical force, if you remember, for this one, we made it a little bit less than the one up here. We gave it a vertical force of 75 instead of 80. So this should basically give us the same exact result as we had before when we were using 2 separate actor intersector things. And this is all thanks to the power of scripting, since one script can do multiple different things. So it should all be set up correctly. And again, as I was showing you there in the script editor, This is not only going to be giving us the jump pad functionality that we had before, but we're also going to have some neat little aesthetic things that we didn't have before. We're going to have a sound effect, a screen flash, and a very light screen shake. So I'll go ahead and shut up, and I'll demonstrate it real quick for you guys so that you can see what the difference is in terms of how it looks and behaves. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed that little bonus section there. If you've never done any scripting before, I understand that this part of the video here is probably a little overwhelming, but again, I have done a big ACS scripting tutorial series, and if you're completely unfamiliar with scripting and you want to learn more about it, then I definitely recommend checking that series out. I have multiple videos in that series, and I basically teach how to do ACS scripting from the ground up. But that's pretty much it for this tutorial, so I hope this has helped you all out. I hope you learned something, and I hope you liked what you saw. If you have any questions, feel free and leave a comment below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. This is Chubbs, signing out.